Thank you, everybody, for being here. From the bottom of my heart, I am really, really excited to share this with everybody. I'm excited to share this with everybody on the internet. Our team has been working so hard over the last 5 years now to literally build the soil, but figuratively build the soil, to find what we need to know, what we need to do, and how to do these things in the right way. And we're here. So for the first time from what I understand, that anybody who works with food or works with the youth, they've never heard what we are embarking upon. And so we have been building up the soil. We have been stewarding that seed like it's our baby. You guys will hear a lot today about faith, probably just because it's going to come out of me. So I want everybody to know that regardless of where you're at in your walk on this earth and this plane, not only me, Jonathan Clay, but everybody that I've surrounded myself with on the Kalos team respects that path. There's no judgment, there's only love. And I want you to know from the deepest part of my heart and my soul that that's where we come from. The North Star of the Kalos Project is 15 to 25-year-olds. When we started preparing for filing as a nonprofit and getting our mission and vision, they said, hey, you can't just say 15 to 25-year-olds. And so we're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, who are you specifically trying to help? And we thought, okay, who's the most vulnerable? Well, the most vulnerable of our youth are the ones that are in foster care, the ones that are alone in maybe a big mansion on Lake Conroe or on Lake Houston, or maybe they're sitting in a cell right now in the juvenile justice system. What I know of as a father is that the most important thing for anybody, whether you're 70 years old or whether you're 7 years old, is to know that there are people around you that love you and they care about you and that they want you to do better. They want you to have the best and fullest life. They want you to know God's love. And the Kalos Project's name came from probably the best thing I did accidentally, which was my son. My son was back from college. He was working with one of my best buddies for the last 25 years, and he was embarking on his own entrepreneurship. And he came up with this word, Kalos. And we thought it was Kalos, and we thought it was all sorts of things. And, we spent about 6 months correcting us, which don't worry if you get it wrong. It's Kalos, long A. And Kalos means to us, and in Greek, beauty. And more importantly, divine beauty, God's beauty, beauty of God. And so the Kalos Project is our attempt through divine guidance to usher in a parallel way of living. And that parallel way of living means that we're not hating on everybody that doesn't see our vision, but that we're building it so that the people who resonate, and when they are ready on their path, they have somewhere to come. And so the Kalos Project is restoring God's beauty to our local communities through decentralizing our local food production system. So what we know, and I say this because we know it, that domino that knocks down all those other dominoes. I mean, I love those videos. That domino is eating food that's produced locally. That food that's being stewarded by the farmers, by your wife, by your husband, by your kids in their backyards, at a community garden, at the church property, whatever it is, that food is what we put into our bodies. And what we've been very, very intentionally, I believe, but nevertheless, we've been removed from where our food comes from. So instead, we're ingesting chemicals and preservatives and all sorts of additives. And even if we are getting organic food, it came from Chile, or it came from, on average, over 1,500 miles away. So by the time it gets to us, it's either devoid of its nutritional value, or it was picked and harvested before it had a chance to reach its full potential. So if you've ever eaten a peach today, and you're my age or older, you're like, they don't taste the same. And they don't, because they came from so far away. So we know that by re-emerging our local food economy, like the way it was probably 100 years ago now, that's going to create a lot of economic opportunity. And I mean a lot. In the news quite recently, the glyphosate conversation re-emerged. And the glyphosate conversation basically legalizes and protects from legal prosecution and immunity, putting out glyphosate and anybody who has those illnesses because of it. It's a wake-up call. We don't need to rely on anybody else but our neighbors and our God. And we know that when we do that, we can provide locally produced, nutrient-dense food. And when you do that, you change the way you maintain it. You change the way you put in nutrients. You change the way you put your pest control. You change all those things to where it works with the amazing biology that is in this earth. So when you do that, all of a sudden you look around and you're like, wow, there's nobody that does this. There's nobody that helps people grow food. There's nobody out here, like, trying to find a regenerative farmer is really difficult. And when you find one, guess what? Guess what they don't have? Time. They do not have any time. Dean, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Kristen, thank you so much for being here. When we think about what is needed, it's people, it's the youth, and or people. And the way you find people is you grow them. That's going to happen a lot. How do I turn off the thing on the computer to where it doesn't shut off?
You keep talking.
Huh?
I'll work on it. You keep talking.
Sweet. I meant to do that last night. So, when it comes to the idea that when we focus on food production locally, and we come to the idea that, oh wow, there's nobody doing this. Everybody I talk to wants to buy their food. locally. But you can't. It was really, really difficult for us to get our lunch today. Our lunch today is farm to table. It was cooked and prepared by a local chef cooperative that does farm to table. It was really, really hard to actually get the food from the farmers. There's not an easy way to find this food. You either need to go to a farmer's market on the weekends, which anybody here have kids? Yeah. Anybody here busy on Saturdays and Sundays? Yeah. So I literally, my path with Steve, with Justin, with Brandon Wiley, and with their father, Aaron, was how do we get this done? Like everything that we've come up against, I've lived in my life as a father and as a husband. I don't have time on Saturdays to go to one farmer's market, let alone 2 or 3 to get everything that I need. So when we think about the convenience of H-E-B and Kroger and Whole Foods, we don't hate on that. We know that this life that we're in right now, it needs convenience. So what you're going to see today is our answer to meeting people where they are. Meeting people and enabling them to be able to make the best choices for their families, for their bodies, and at the end of the day, we know that that creates healthy people. And healthy people create healthy communities. Okay? So let's start with the big picture. I want to go ahead and open up our meeting in prayer. If you guys all will, I'll lead us in our opening prayer. Heavenly Father, hallowed be thy name. May thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. Today, Heavenly Father, we ask you that you provide us our daily bread and forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Heavenly Father, we would like to invoke the Holy Spirit to come into this meeting, to come into all of us, to share your wisdom and your comfort. Heavenly Father, as you know, if you want me to say something, make it really loud and hit me upside the head with it. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to get through. Heavenly Father, I just want to share my gratitude for everything that you've done. Share my gratitude for your law, for your authority and your power. Your divine plan to give us dominion over this realm. It's inspiring. And every day, I seek to be closer to you. I seek to be worthy of your power. And today, Heavenly Father, I ask you to guide us, protect us. For all those who are still coming here, who are on the road, that you protect them. Heavenly Father, I hope and I pray that everything that we wish to communicate is heard on social media, is heard through all the mediums that can spread your message. Heavenly Father, I thank you for your comfort and your love. We wouldn't be here without you. We say all these things in his name, Jesus Christ, amen. All right. Welcome to the Rooted in Regeneration Symposium. The soil is ready. Are you? Yeah. Funny as it is, we have been working on this for 5 years. The last 3 months, we've been preparing for today without knowing that it was going to be today. Most of you got a message about 3 weeks ago saying, save the date. And first, that date was the 21st. And then Justin, one of my beloved founders and just another son of mine, said, wait, that's the celebration for the wedding that I'm having. I'm like, oh, okay, scratch that. Save the date for the 28th. And then everybody's like, well, hold on, that's the rodeo. It's like, can we do it in March? Nope, can't do it in March. So today we're here, we're gathered, and for all of you that have been able to make it, thank you so much. For all of you guys at home, thank you for watching this. This is for you. Everybody in this room gets it. You guys are all called here. You guys know why we're here. And so thank you for being patient this morning. Thank you for showing up. And thank you for giving us the chance and the space to really bring in this creation. Okay? We are going to talk a lot about numbers. We're going to talk a lot about how we're going to get this done. And before we do that, we're going to get into what we see. What we see is going to be our effect. And if we're going to talk about where we're going, I figured it'd be really cool to talk about where we came from. So, since it's a small group, why don't we have Brandon, Justin, Steve, will you guys join me up here?
Yeah.
Guess we're all getting in on this.
I mean, I think so. The mic guy got the mic knocked off. Guys, you are looking at the founders of the Kalos Project. Steve and I have been doing a lot of diligent work over the last 2 years because these gentlemen have continued upon their entrepreneur spirit and have really set their boundaries and have set their goals to be successful in what they feel passionate to. And so Steve and I looked at each other a couple of years ago and be like, wow, it's really on us old guys. And I want to take this moment to tell each and every one of you that there is not a chance that we would be here today if it weren't for your love and your support. Thank you so much. Guys, it is something sacred. The brotherhood, the ability to create a safe place where people can be vulnerable, where people cannot have the answers or even know what it is that they're trying to say. These young men, Steve, and I guess that starts with yourself as well, is just being vulnerable and accepting the fact that you don't need to have all the answers. We've spent months on end. We've spent meetings where, what are you trying to say, Dad? Like, are you serious? We have done this time and time again, and they have been gracious enough to sometimes waste hours with me when I didn't know what was going on and I didn't know how to express it. But through that, we are now here today to be able to share with you guys that. And before we go into that, we are missing here in this realm somebody very, very dear to our hearts. Aaron Ray Wiley passed over to his creator last 2 weeks ago. Justin and Brandon's dad. He was the rock that we knew had to be moved if we were going to be able to make sense of what we were saying. So we would dream, we would be all up in the clouds, and then Aaron would be like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And we're like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. And then these two Brandons were like the second filter, like, okay, before we go back to Aaron with this, and before we have our next meeting, like, what do you guys think? And once it made it through these two, then we were like, okay, I think now we've got it. And then we'd hold Sunday breakfast or a Sunday barbecue, and we'd all have our conversation and say, okay, this is what's going on. And Aaron would be like, that's it. That's where we're going. Aaron always said, Jonathan, I'm here to support the boys. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Aaron, in his patience and his shepherding all of our conversations, he was the most important brother of mine that brought me to my relationship with Jesus. And I have to tell you, as a man who walks with the Lord now, there is nothing that I am more thankful for than my relationship with Jesus and my Creator. And I owe it to you guys and your Father. So thank you so much, guys. I love you.
I love you.
This is going to get really messy really soon, so why don't you guys go sit down? Like all big mornings, this morning was crazy. My wife, even though she knows that I'm not a sensitive guy when I get hurt, she was the one that got to do surgery on my foot this morning. So, honey, thank you so much for your love and patience. We don't know. You can't even see where it's at, so she was poking this needle into the bottom of my foot trying to relieve the pressure that was in it. And so it worked well enough to where I can at least stand here and walk. Let me move over to restoring beauty, building community, and growing food. For those of you who know me, this comes to no surprise. I'm a bit of a burro in Spanish. That is a donkey. I think that I'm right, and if you've been around me talking, you could have sworn I was. I talk with this authority that I just walks right through me. And one of the most interesting visions that I get that always recalls me is just the look on my son's face when he's, when you're trying to talk to your dog or something like that, and it just kind of tilts its head and it looks at you like this. And my son gives me these looks like, what? Did you really say those words? Now, let me call myself out. I do make up words too. But one of those things that we talked about was how we were going to set apart on this Kalos journey. And we started down that journey working with some of the wrong people. And it was these young men that said, we can't work with people who have a mindset of scarcity. It literally works against us. Everything that we're doing is within the law of abundance. I mean, for those of us who know that we were created by a God, we know that He created us to live in abundance. And so whenever we're looking with partners or whenever we're looking for other people to work with, we know that the first and most crucial criteria is, where is your mindset? Are you doing this because you're full of fear? Are you doing this because you have a scarcity mindset and you're trying to hoard stuff? Where is that? So early on, we met some remarkable ladies who are very, very powerful in their minds and very ingenious. And it became abundantly clear, not to me, to those boys, that we can't work this. We can't work with this. And it was probably what? Probably took me about 3 or 4 months to come around to this idea. Like, are you sure? Are you sure, guys? Come on. And so when we finally led away from that, we started on our path and our journey of finding other people that can partner with us and that we can learn from. So in the first days of the Kalos project, we had a tagline that said, we bring the world's greatest innovators and their innovations to our local food economy. Because guys, let's face it, I didn't come up with any of this stuff. This is all from the people who've been doing the work, who have been putting in the time, who have their own ways of being able to create. And we knew that by going to those people and learning from what their experiences were, that it would be the fastest and the most responsible way to be able to help everybody in our communities. So this picture right here was one of the best turning points. And this picture right here is from an annual meeting at Food Forest Abundance in Galt's Landing. Galt's Landing, from Atlas Shrugged, if any of y'all know that book, is where this comes from, of building that parallel community, that parallel mindset. So Food Forest Abundance is about permaculture and food forests, about companion planting. And if it weren't for Justin, I'd probably still be trying to grow food with fish. And just to let you guys know, it is a great way to grow food if you're in Sri Lanka or if you're in a desert. Aquaponics is basically aquaculture and hydroponics brought together. You feed the fish waste feeds the plants feed you, they filter out the water, and it creates a really, really awesome cycle. Fantastic. Except for what did we learn along that path? The soul of our food comes from the soil. You cannot replace the billions upon billions of microlife. Oh, seriously, one of our sponsors, Microlife. But of the microbes and the biology that's in our soil, that's in the air. And whether it's fungus or bacterias and amoebas and all those amazing little guys, that's what is programmed into the seeds of these plants to interact with their genome, to be able to express their fullest nature. And that's what we're looking to do with food, and that's what we're looking to do with people. Let's see if this works. Oh, maybe. I turn it on. Yeah! So, our founding team. Oh, look at that good looking bunch. So, Lexi Groves now has the proud name of Lexi Clay, the newest addition to our family. And this guy right here, Aaron, such a lovely man. All right, guys, it's all about growing together. What you're looking at right there is a bunch of 15 to 25-year-olds with one old guy in the back. One of our first projects, growing a food forest out in Fulshire. That whole entire area behind you has 40 yards of organic manure from an organic horse ranch, and then it has a bunch of mulch and composted mulch from Nature's Way. Nature's Way, shout out, one of our other sponsors for today. We let that sit there for 5 months, and then we planted this in March 2025. We dug into that clay soil, which in that part of the state or in that part of the area is about 15 to 20 feet deep. Now, for those of you who tried to plant food, clay's not a bad soil. It's got a lot of nutrients in it. But they have covalent bonds, which means those are those bonds that you learned in high school or in college that are really, really tight and really, really strong. And so what we need to do is we need to bring in the microbes that pull those bonds off, that process that stuff. And so that's what we did. Such a great time. This fella right here, Mr. Preston, one of the funniest, is he 16 now? 17. One of the funniest teenagers I've ever met in my life. The Wiley's cousins. This is moving along. Spring 2025. Our family's getting bigger. Good old Justin Wiley right there, sporting out, empowering people to transform communities that change the world. I thought that was great. And then my son's like, but what are we trying to say? And that's where we really started moving into the Kalos Project. We grow food and we grow people. Got some great pictures along the way. We went up to Montana. Montana is where the Earth Power Lodge is at. Earth Power Lodge by Michael Smith. If you guys have ever seen the movie The Need to Grow, that really woke us up to what was going on with our soils. So the NPK of the world, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, that is what is derived from the World War II era, where we now use all those industrial chemicals to provide those nutrients directly to the soil. And we don't care about what's in the dirt. We just care about adding more and more and more to it. So we went up to Montana to go see them, and we met a gentleman named Eric Cutter. Eric Cutter really started going down into the soil. He's the one that really converted us over to that mindset. Eric is from that movie as well, The Need to Grow, and he started growing in parking lots during COVID to make sure that the local food pantries had all the food that they needed. And so he would take basically fabric about 12 inches wide and put the best soil in it, put a little drip line on top, and put it down on a parking lot. And you can grow food that way. So this is our Montana trip. This is our trip over in Florida. Look at that. I mean, Texans in Montana in November, yeah, a little out of our element. We'll spare you one of the videos where we all jumped in the river. There's Mr. Cutter himself. Guys, in a minute we're going to get to some of our areas of focus, and one of our areas of focus is uplifting the producers and the leaders in our community. And so what we want to do is we want to provide that extra labor, that extra hands to help. And here we are over at Daffodil Farms in Magnolia, putting up a greenhouse. There's Clay and Jeremy with their handy skills. Just so you guys know, if you want something done and you don't want to be there to do it, just get Clay and Jeremy to show up and it'll be done in a couple days. It may not look like you thought it would, but it works better. And Steve cannot be in the picture, or he cannot not be in the picture. He's always got the camera in it, so you always get a close-up of Steve. I really don't know why this picture's in here, but it was one of the funnest experiences. Yeah, not growing food, we're growing a treehouse. Justin and Brandon got to go up to Dakota? Montana. And what was that?
Permaculture and homesteading camp.
Yeah, permaculture and homesteading camp. That was really when I started realizing that we're not doing aquaponics. We're working with the land the way it was meant to be.
Paul Wheaton. Paul Wheaton.
Paul Wheaton?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we are, freshly mulched and ready. That was October 2024. That's our crew. A little bit about Daphne, you guys. A little bit about Daphne right here. Daphne got her start with her parents. They moved out here. They immigrated over to Houston, and she comes from a family of farmers. And she got hooked up with an organization called Plant It Forward, where they help people get started with farms. And so she has her area right here. The farm that you can see in the distance is her pride and joy. Newly married and has another baby on the way as well. All the work that we've done. One of the things that we got started in was helping our local community. COVID for me was awesome because I didn't have to go to work. It was great. Like this whole work remote thing, that was awesome for me as a corporate sales guy. I got to make phone calls and emails, or tell my boss that I was making phone calls and emails, and I could go cut down my neighbor's trees. I could go do service projects. As you guys get to know me, my lifeblood is service. It's how I live. It's how I garner my energy in life, is by being in service. I've always been a really great father, but not so great husband until now, right, baby? So in that whole line of mess, I really have found that being in service is where I love to live. So this was a muddy mess. It's about 20 feet deep, and we helped a trio of late 60-year-old women clean this out and get this done. And wouldn't have been able to do it without the guys in this room. For us, especially because of Brandon, Justin, and Brandon, it was, okay, Dad, this is all great and stuff. We feel good, but what are we doing? What are we trying to do? So planning and strategy was always key, trying to find out who's doing the work the way that we feel aligned with, and what do they know. And so this is a meeting that we had with Jim Gale and Brecca, and really talking about how permaculture and food forests and how the community responds to it. Here we go, one of our first creative planning meetings. I'm a father of 4. My youngest is 4, my oldest is 25, and I got my 2 teenage daughters over there. I think the only thing I heard in church when I was growing up was go forth and procreate, so I got that part done. And here we are in one of those really common planning sessions in the backyard on a Sunday afternoon. This was the first thing that we were going to do, guys. What we were going to do was take this thing called the Earth Power Lodge and take this thing called an aquaponics greenhouse and create the Regeneration Station. You take wood or anything fibrous, you heat it up in pyrolysis, you create biochar. In that heat in the greenhouse, you create algae. And in the process of drying out the algae, you harvest the methane. You harvest the off gas from the pyrolysis system, and then you feed it back into a generator, and it creates electricity. And the electricity goes ahead and powers your greenhouse, which is the biggest part of why some of these systems don't really work, is there's a whole lot of electricity that's needed. So inside the greenhouse, you're growing fish and shrimp and produce. So the Regeneration Station was one of the first ideas that we had. When you find somebody that you really, really connect with, you want to start talking to other people about them. And I have been blessed with the boldness to express who I am and what we're trying to do. And the people who resonate, like Jackie, they were the ones that were to carry on those messages and make those connections. Sean, over here on the left, this amazing South African in technology in Austin, felt moved by his prayer to move to Flatonia. Didn't know what he was doing, didn't know how to get it done, and by the grace of God, a neighbor said, you need to call Dean Yeager. And Dean Yeager has been able to support them and get their family to be able to regeneratively farm. And so it was a blessing seeing them. And as you all know, there's a lot of people that talk a mean game, but not a whole lot of people that walk the walk. And it was amazing to be able to see the work that Dean does actually in the field. There we are, Docnick Aquaponics. Docnick Aquaponics, Salt Lake City, Utah. These guys were probably one of the coolest people to learn from, and one of the coolest people to be say like, oh, we don't want to do it your way. We want to start growing food of permaculture. We want to start growing food in our local food economies. We know that if you create a higher barrier with technology and with all these cool ways of doing things, you really take the ability of being able to grow food away from the natural way. And I'm here to tell you 100%, as long as you make that soil good, you can grow anything in your backyard. I promise you. Dun, 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 dun. Join the movement. All right, guys. So, dun, 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 dun. Just so you guys know, if you guys are okay with silence, I totally am. I'm not stressing out, so I don't want you guys to. But definitely had the wrong one up. All right, so where are we today? So, as you guys heard me say earlier and almost brought me to tears, the boys have grown up and they're doing their own thing. And as they lend support, like my son and his wife do, whether it's with marketing or whether with, oh, what am I gonna do? Dad, it's okay, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Or, hey, I really need an extra couple of hands. Justin, Brandon, hey, yeah, if you can schedule it next week, I can get 5 people out there. Like, those guys, they've always been there, they helped us get here. But moving into the next stage is our board of directors. Mr. Nathan Hubert, you guys probably won't be surprised, but our whole board basically has come from them hearing our message. Nathan, last year, my son said, Dad, we have to put this video out. We have to go ahead and tell people what we're doing. And when we put that video out, in 3 months, at the minimum that I could afford to do, which was $20 a day, we ran Facebook and Meta ads on Instagram. We had 883 leads come through. We had over 300 conversations over the phone, which we called intro calls. 80% of them ended up in testimonies over the phone with people that we never met in our life. And a lot of those people said that they wanted to be a part of what we're doing. And Nathan's one of them. Nathan's had the phone call with Steve. And Nathan, come on up, Nathan. So tell us, when you first called us.
Yeah, honestly, you talk about how you talk a big game and how you are confident with how you're talking. We reached out, you and I chatted first via text a little bit. You set up with Steve. I was texting my family, I'm like, is this guy real or am I speaking with an AI right now? I was honestly concerned. I'm like, this can't be real. This can't be true that there's actually people doing this in the world. I'm like, okay, well, he's sending me off to a guy named Steve. Let me just take the call with Steve. You know what? I'll let you guys know if I'm getting scammed. Steve and I sat on the phone for about 2 hours. I'm in my car, AC is on, and I'm talking with this guy about shared experiences, hopes, dreams, where I find myself in my sustainability journey, how I want to use my degree, and how I love talking to people. And I get off that phone call with Steve, and I feel more open than I have in almost any conversation I've had. I feel a sense of possibility, and I don't know, I texted my family again and I'm like, y'all, it's real. These are real people. I'm excited to find them because I'm not from Houston. I'm not from Texas. I'm from Nebraska. Shout out to Omaha. I had a community there, but work took me here. And I was looking for the people. I was looking for this group of people, this room full of folks who are interested in what I'm interested in. And I got off that phone call with Steve and I had found it. I'm like, they're here. I didn't think they existed in Texas. And here y'all are. So thank you for being here and thank you for having me and inviting me.
You're welcome, brother.
Yeah, that's good.
So we're going to get into this a little bit later, but right now I feel really moved to bring Steve up. And I'm not the easiest person to be around, in the slightest. And I have an obtuse nature. Some people call it bold. Some people give it these very grand things. But really what it is I feel like I know what I'm doing and I just go. And sometimes there's people that are left in my wake as I'm running. And I don't always have a whole lot of courtesy for those moments. And this man right here is the one who pulls me back, or who picks up the pieces, and who makes everybody know that they're loved and that they have a place and that we're doing this for them. Steve, thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
I love you, dude. So I've been doing come on, stay up here, Steve. So I've been doing a lot of work growing food. I've been doing a lot of searching with how to grow food, finding the right people, the smart people, finding the people that do it the right way, that have the experience in doing it. Growing food to me is the way that we create these economic opportunities for the kids that we're serving. Now, as a father, and as many of you fathers know, we only got here 20 or 30 years before our kids did. So what do we really know about that process? Right? I'm not a genius. I just got here 20 years before my son did. So who am I necessarily to lead and to have all these answers and these questions? So through service, I connect, and through my mistakes and my owning it and my accountability and my personal nature of trying to always do better, people can see that. But this man right here has spent a career helping people find what drives them, finding the right people for the right positions, and helping huge organizations be able to steward their employees and the people that they're serving. So we grow food and we grow people. And Steve's the most important part to growing people. So we're going to get into that a little bit more when we come into our 4 agreements and how we do things. But what you're looking at up here right now to this team is 2 leaders that understand that we're stewarding not only the soil and the plants, but we're stewarding the youth that are coming up in our communities. All right, that's Nathan. Look at this beautiful group. One of the most handsome guys I've ever met, veteran and father and husband, Matt Kofer. Matt Kofer can't be with us today. He's over at the rodeo working. He is director of operations and has a lot of finance background for an organization called David's Chair. If you haven't heard of David's Chair is the organization that puts tank tracks on wheelchairs. So that just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean you can't go hiking in the mountains and can't go fishing on the beach. So he spends his time with that organization. Luciana Alvair. Luciana, come on up here. Yeah. So, Luciana, how long you been in the U.S.?
This second time, 7 years.
7 years now. 7 years from Brazil. Luciana calls me from the ads.
The famous ad.
The famous ad. And she says, I got a new home and I want to grow food. I'm like, you're talking to a guy that knows a little bit about that. And so myself and Clay, we go on out there. We meet Luciana at her beautiful home. And we start discussing how to grow food. And we work on, I do all this research on how to get the Jacoba?
Oh, yeah.
Jacoba? I don't know how you say it in English. Anyway.
Jabuticaba.
What?
Jabuticaba.
Yeah, that thing.
It's a Brazilian fruit plant.
Yeah. So what I know is that if you give the right, especially in Houston, if you give the right soil, if you give it the right conditions, we can literally grow everything in Houston. It'll just either die in August or die in January. So we can at least have it for a little while, or we can build stuff around it and create microclimates. But the journey with Luciana was amazing because we were going through the process and she's juggling her other home, getting into the new home, her career at the bank, and of course, as you know, when you meet good people, you meet good people. She reaches out. She goes, "Hey, Jonathan, Thomas, my son, is looking at working this summer. It's his first job. He's coming out of his sophomore year of high school, and he wants to go to work. Will you look at his resume?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I look at his resume. Kind of look at his resume, and I'm like, "You know what? Why doesn't he just be an apprentice with us?" And so last summer, Thomas, come on up, Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas.
This young man is the first apprentice to go through the 4 agreements, the surrender experiment, and become an apprentice with the Kalos Project. Thomas, so some people think apprenticeships don't get paid. They do. So Thomas worked this summer. He wasn't necessarily looking to grow food, but he loved the mission. He loved what we were wanting to do. And so after having a phone call with him and sitting down with him, I was like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" "I want to do social media. I want to do video content. I want to get into that." Well, one of the things that we talk about is we are in the agriculture and technology business. That's what we do because we're in a technology world and people need to hear about what we're doing. So, in the Kalos way, every apprentice needs a mentor. This guy's not a video guy. This guy is not a technology guy. But guess what? I've got a son who is. So Brandon had the first chance to be the first mentor within the Kalos Project and really was able to cut his teeth showing Thomas what to do. So everything that you see online now is from Thomas. So. Pretty soon you'll see a QR code come up on the TV. Thomas helped walk this guy through creating a link tree and a go high level funnel to be able to make sure that we are able to talk with everybody today. So as always, the biggest thing that I want everybody to hear, especially y'all out there, bringing on an apprentice is the most rewarding thing you can do. It is powerful. We receive more, I gotta say, hands down, than the apprentice does. The apprentice receives opportunity. And as you'll hear, especially through the 4 agreements, accountability and boundaries are really, really important. And accountability and boundaries mean you're stewarding that soil for that person that you're working with to take those steps on their own. Because we all know those youth that have grown up with everything handed to them, and a lot of them are empty because they've never earned something, they've never taken those steps on their own. And so that's one of the things that we do as mentors, is we create those safe places for mistakes, for anything, because mistakes aren't bad, they're just part of getting forward. So, thank y'all.
Bye.
If you want to be moved by the Spirit, if you want to have an accountability buddy, if you are down in the dirts, then you want to talk to our board member, Marlise Ledbetter. Marlise is not afraid of breaking down walls. She is not afraid to stand up in church and walk out. She understands what it's like to have the power behind her and speak her words. She gives me strength to know that what I'm doing is the right thing to do, and to know that what we're doing is the right thing. Marlise can't be with us today. She's had other engagements, and she's been sick with the flu. Poor thing. Marlise, her mom was the philanthropist, the garner of those funds in the Woodlands. Her mom has since passed now for a few years, and when we had our first board meeting in December, she was overcome with emotion, because one of the things that her mom always wanted to do was to create a platform where people could be able to give what they had, give their time, give their resources, give anything. And what we're going to share with you later on this afternoon is a platform called the Good Deeds Platform. And this enables volunteerism in every way possible. We want to make it easy for people who want to do good to do good. I was really going to crop down that picture, but I couldn't. And I'm not talking about Clay. Burhan Nasir, come on up, brother.
How you, brother?
Man, you talk about two brothers united in so many ways. This man invited me into his home invited me to his home to do a site survey, which, if you know anything about us, we do a quick call with you. It usually turns out to be a lot longer than a quick call, and then we book a time. And we book a time to come to your home or your church or wherever it is that you're at. And we book that site visit when you're prepared to purchase a project plan from us. And a project plan usually costs around $300. And so Burhan said, yeah, let's do it. So I get over to his house, and he says, hey, before we do the whole site survey outside, would you mind coming in and sitting on my couch? I've got some questions for you. Okay. So kind enough, brings me into his sitting room, brings me some nice little bubbly, and I have no idea what I'm in for. I just know that this gentleman, who's got a big smile on his face, really wants to grow food, wants to know more about me. In fact, he says, listen, I want to know how you got here. So take it from there.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
to be here.
and just so you know, I didn't tell anybody I was doing this.
So where do I start? I mean, I'm a systems engineer. I learned about 3 years ago that I'm really good at just systems, any system, but then I think my travels around the world has inspired me to understand the nature systems, and I got into permaculture. What got me hooked was, again, the infamous video that you've actually put on Instagram. So I really loved the whole idea that, so it was the food that got me hooked, but it was like really that what they're doing for the youth too. Because I think that what occurred to me was that 100 years, I mean, you may have actually heard or read this somewhere, right? That 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of car I was driving, what house I lived in, or what kind of bank balance I had, but the world could be a better place if I was important in the life of a child. And that is what resonated with me. Of course, I try my best to hug my children just that much more and take care of them, and I'm pretty sure many of you also do the same. But I found in this guy that he's actually extending that opportunity for others in order to be able to fulfill. I think that's like really what got me hooked to be able to stay on the board. Now, we got back in, I'm Muslim and practicing and fasting today, and we prayed, and we prayed, and we realized that what we were talking about, exactly the same things. Like when you actually have the light, it just really, it shines through. And I'm gonna actually maybe translate that prayer and what
Yes.
you, and it
Before
just
you
was-
do that.
Yeah.
So we're talking, we're on the couch. And that day was a really pretty kind of a big day. Things were blowing up, everything was going pretty crazy, amazing. And then I got a call from ABC News down in Houston. They wanted to feature the Kalos project on Earth Day. And I was overcome with all these grandiose ideas. I was driving down Beltway 8, and I recognized right then and there that I needed to pull myself over. So I pulled myself over, and I knelt down, and I said a prayer. And that prayer not only was for gratitude, but that prayer was for God, Heavenly Father, please make sure that I stay out of my own way, that I'm doing your work and not serving myself. I've been, on more than one occasion, really full of myself. There's a couple people in this room that have known me for a very long time. And I knew that that was the crutch. I knew that if we were going in this direction with God, that I would be the one that would stumble us off and go down the road. So that was that prayer. And in our conversation, he's like, so what do you do this? And I was like, well, actually just today, this is what I was praying. And he's like, what? And he goes, Jonathan, come outside with me.
And we prayed. With Allah, the most merciful, the most just. We stand before you seeking your guidance and your blessing. You know our intentions and the work we hope to do. Grant us sincerity, integrity, and wisdom. Make our efforts a source of benefit for those who are marginalized, and allow us to uplift those who have been overlooked. Protect us from injustice, from pride, and from anything that would corrupt our work. Open to us the doors of what is good, and close for us the doors of what is harmful. Bless this partnership with harmony, clarity, and righteousness, and make our work a means for serving your creation with the compassion and fairness. Amen.
Brother.
That's right.
So guys, this is who we are. I've been told many times that you're not supposed to do it this way, or you're not supposed to do it that way, or what about these people? How are you going to convince these people to do this, or how are you going to get those people over here? We're not here to do any of that. What we're here to do is we're here to show you guys who we are, and if you want to come along with us, we welcome you. We welcome you as you are, because we expect you guys to love us for who we are. Clay and Jackie, come on up here. Brother. Funny story about Clay. His favorite brother is named Jonathan. Maybe that's a joke that only I get because my name's Jonathan Clay. Jackie found out about us because she was watching a Facebook Live that I was doing in December of 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, December of 24. So I am a burro. I am very stubborn. I'm a donkey, and getting me to do things that are uncomfortable, like speaking in front of people, is really hard to do. I've been stewarded in that spirit by Living Holistic, and Alicia Hicks and the people in that community said, Jonathan, you have to get this message out. And so I did it. And in the back was this camera that was filming, and it was casting over to Facebook. And after my, 2 hours, I mean, I can talk forever. So after those 2 hours, somebody said that there's somebody out there that's just commenting like, oh my gosh, that's what I talk about. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And it's this organization, and it's Jackie. I'm like, who's Jackie? And so I reach out, and then Jackie Beard's here. Yep. Jackie, take the floor. Tell us why. So Jackie is our youth director. Jackie is the one that has led the way for connections into Urban Harvest, into working inside the plight of Houston with our food deserts, and with the absolute lack of genuine community within the foster care system. Jackie's heart was broken there, and Jackie is now enabling us to make a difference. And the way that she's enabling us to make a difference is because we're able to pour into Jackie, and we're able to give her the energy, the resources, and really the team to do what she's always wanted to do. Go ahead.
Definitely. I guess I started in foster care system by doing CPS. I was doing investigations, and from there I went to foster care case management, and I worked just with young adults. And I really learned the disconnect of when they get out. They do not want to be in the foster care system. They don't want to be in any system anymore. Most of them either end up homeless, 40% homeless, 60% on the streets. I mean, it's a real problem. Like you said, when you don't have your parents as your support system, you have nobody. And so they get lost in the system. I really started working with people because I was lost in the system. I was from juvenile justice. I grew up in Aldine. My family members were gang members. That was my life. I really turned it over because my dad was a great person, and I ended up living back with him, and he tried to steer me the right way. Well, as you know, when someone tries to steer you the right way, you don't usually go. And so I went the other way for a long time, and then I got into CPS. I really was like, okay, I had my first kid. So when I had my first kid, everything changed. And I was like, I'm not going to be my mother. I'm not going to be a drug addict, not going to be a sex worker. That's not my life. And so I stopped everything I was doing, and I went to college. I got my degree. I went to CPS. I went to foster care, and I did all that. Well, then I learned that system was really hurting these kids too. The more I talked to them, the more that I learned that it wasn't helping, and they needed somebody. So every kid I talked to, it was the ones that nobody was working with. It was the ones who were in gangs, the ones who were using drugs, dealing drugs. And I wasn't scared of them because I was one of them, and they just didn't know it, you know? I'm like this little white girl. And so when you go into this system of people, they're like, you don't know us, you don't know anything about us, but really I do. And so I was really that connector, I think, for so many different people, just like Jonathan. Like I'm really good at connecting kids to different people in the system where they can thrive. And there's not really anything out there that does that. There's always like one field you have to go into, one thing you have to do. And I learned that your nervous system really needs good food. Your nervous system really needs to be stable before you can do anything. And I think that's really where Jonathan and I really connected. It was like, okay, the food system, nervous system, and these youth, if we can merge all those, then we can do something. And so our journey really has been for a couple years now. And I think that now we're at the point where it's like, all right, it's go time, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I can't follow that up.
I saved Clay for last for a really good reason. Some people need direction in life. Some people need to know why they're doing something in order to get out of bed, in order to do a task. And then there's other people who just show up. And to everybody out here, everybody over there, I promise you one thing. If you do what Clay does, which is just show up, you make change. I met Clay because he showed up for his elderly neighbor. Very interesting lady. Over in we won't say her name. over in Oak Ridge. But Clay, much like myself, he grew up in the Mormon religion. We grew up service projects. We grew up doing those things. He, like me, went our own way, and now we find ourselves with a better connection with God than we've ever had before. But I got a call from Daphne over at Daffodil Farms, and she didn't have people to show up and to do a harvest, and it was imperative that it get done. And some people may not know this, I have a corporate job, and I was not able to get there. And so I called Clay, which I only knew from him doing cabinets at this lady's house that I was doing Kalos work for, helping her grow food. He knew a little bit about me, but that was it. I called him up and I said, hey, will you do this? He said, sure. It was such an easy conversation, I didn't think he was going to show up. And so the morning, tell me about that morning. Tell me about that phone call.
I don't remember the phone call, but I remember
The voice
that
message.
morning was, oh, you were just happy that I showed up and thanking me for it.
Yeah,
But that was a lot of sandbags. So.
that was. So I was overcome with joy and admiration I mean, he didn't pick up the phone, he was busy working, and I was just blowing up his messages with these voicemails of, I can't, but thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much, like what you're doing and everything like that. And Clay, time and time again, like I said, he shows up and doesn't necessarily know why, doesn't necessarily know where he's going, but I tell you what, if you need something done and you don't know how it's going to get done, or if you don't have time to necessarily communicate it the right way either, it's done. And it's done better than you thought it was going to get done for in the first place. So he's definitely our team MacGyver. What are the domes called?
Zomes.
Zomes. Tell me a little bit about zomes.
They're wood structures, kind of looks like a diamond turned upside down.
Okay.
And greenhouses, flex spaces, tiny homes, whatever we need it for.
Yep. So one thing that you'll hear about later on is our vision to create what we're calling the Mary and Joseph Covenant Village. That is going to be a 300 to 500 acre village that is going to have 300 to 400 tiny homes. Those tiny homes are going to be lived in by our youth aging out of the foster care system. They're going to be built for less than $50,000. They're going to be living inside of an ecosystem of regenerative farming with orchards, with dairy farms, with goats, chickens, most importantly, John, ducks. And we're going to be building this as a flagship so that everybody knows that when you do it the right way, it produces abundance. And the abundance is something that is super, super lacking in today's nonprofit and giving space. All those nonprofits, they just need more money and they need more money and they need more money. And their vision's not necessarily growing, but their need for money always is. And so what we want to do is we want to be sustainable. So when we build these villages, the produce, the food, the meats, not only are the kids eating all of it, but we're producing an overabundance for the community. And what does that do? Who here wants to buy and eat locally produced, better than organic, nutrient-dense food? We all do. Everybody out there? Yeah. And so we live in a very, very affluent community. And one of the permaculture principles is inside of the problem is the solution. So most people see the problem as, oh, we have a lot of money and affluence here, and then these people are poor. That's a problem. Or is it the solution? I think it's the solution. I live in Montgomery County. I live in the Woodlands. I know people that are willing to pay $36, $46 for better than organic chickens from Real Food Ranch. They have what Mikey Johnson has definitely drilled into my heart. They have what is called unimpeachable integrity in the way that they grow their food. And the people who have the means are willing to pay for it. The best part about that is that overabundance allows us to serve all the food insecure families and kids that are in our same community. That's how the problem fixes itself. We just have to be the ones that are bridging those gaps. Thank you, Clay.
Thank you. Yeah, she's thinking. I can see the wheels turning in this person's brain now. And it's all because someone decided to donate a tire to our recycling dumpster, and I wanted to cut it out and start planting stuff in there. Turns out this person had a latent interest in planting stuff, and now she is in my office all the time, hanging out, talking about plants, wanting to pick my brain. I can't, dude, it took 2 weeks? 2 weeks is all it took to get this person who was always complaining about everything, and now she's out there in the garden doing her actual job. I don't care. I want her engaged because her actual work has gotten better because of it, and she doesn't realize that, but I do. I'm the guy who has to look at that. All I have to worry about is that she's getting done, and she's just excited. At the end of it, that's all I care about. You know, I'm excited.
Hey. Come on, Sue.
This too is,
Come on.
even at Nathan's place, Tibet, Sunset, where your location is, but their organization provides 8 voluntary
BTO, volunteer hours.
volunteers a year, and very underutilized whatsoever. So, you know, we're looking for organizations that want to beta test this and work with us on it, so that we can engage their employees to get these volunteer hours, help drive, and then we can come back in and watch and see how their engagement is doing in the company by doing volunteer work, out getting their hands dirty, being in the community, digging in the dirt, and just showing general reconnection with what God has provided us, instead of just being in this box every day, going to work, going home, going to work, going home. So having this opportunity to really enlighten and enliven their individual lives, like this situation you just shared, if we could show this system can help with the volunteerism and push them out into the community, because many big organizations do provide those volunteer programs too, but they're just underutilized or or they're going to like a United Way. That's a very different thing than what we're talking about doing. You know?
It's adding that personal touch.
Yes.
You know, something that connects a little bit deeper into someone's soul. You know.
And they bring that back to their home, and they're better people for it everywhere. So then we start looking at, okay, let's connect to the engagement now of the employees in that organization or in that company. What's happening with the ones that have more volunteer hours? How are they performing in their roles? How much more engaged are they? Their employees across the board are probably, anyway, I haven't done this in a long time because I've been out of HR for a bit, but 40, 50%, maybe up to 60% of employees are disengaged. They're just somewhat engaged in the business. They're just collecting a paycheck. And that is hurting every organization. And they know it, they just don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We're hoping that this is the system that can help connect all those dots.
And I mean, we're talking about food and growing stuff like that. I'm also talking about lawyers and accountants. Yep. We're talking about white collar stuff. We're talking about real impact for what can be done on a grand scale for a lot of these people who've got ideas that need more resources to be able to move up.
I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting, the capitalist system in general was, we created a system in which people have to, live on this currency, but really if we lived more communally and we lived all trying to make each other's lives better, we really wouldn't have to be on a capital system. It would just, in general, we would all pour into each other's lives. And so I think that's so interesting, to make people's lives better, gets people re-engaged, it gets them more energized to be able to do that for them, the other person, and it all moves forward together. I just think it's interesting because you actually take away the need for being on I don't know how to say it, on a currency-based system. You're literally just doing the work with each other, and it creates this symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of organizations like Benevity, Gitcoin. There's a lot of people that have tried to crowdsource this stuff who are HR working or working with HR companies to be able to get that engagement up. There's a lot of them that have been trying to do this. Nobody's tried to do it on one platform. And nobody has created the flywheel of success. How Good Deeds platform compounds that value. So all of this stuff is going to be available to you guys. Everybody who signed up, who came in here, we're going to be able to get you some PDFs so you guys can study all this stuff. Got some great one-pagers for those of you who want to go deeper. You guys will be able to go deeper with us. Competitive markets. I mean, we're literally talking about a $1.1 billion acquisition. And the Good Deeds platform combines the best of both of these worlds. That's what we're doing. And it's just the same permaculture principles that we were talking about in the beginning. Features, So here's the revenue streams. So there's the corporate software. There's the nonprofit licensing. Like I said, anybody can use our platform. Anybody can build a service project. And then the project management tool that matches people's skills with the tasks. That's all automated. So if you say these are the things that you're good at, you'll literally, just like Airbnb, get filtered out to the jobs that you qualify for, that you want to. Reputation data. That's probably our biggest one. So if you want to change careers, or if the company, all that stuff is data. And there's something called a moat in this world, where if you're able to keep the people who are using and accessing your application and your platform, if you're able to keep that data in a valuable way, then it keeps them from going anywhere else, or from competition from coming up. But I like competition. I think competition makes us stronger. So I welcome anybody else to go ahead and do this too. You just can't use the Good Deeds platform name. So the crowdfunding. you put up a service project for grandma's wheelchair ramp, you crowdfund it. Crowdfunding, and then this is via other platforms, brings transparency. So the transparency in you funding a project and you being able to watch the money go out and what it's going to and what it's doing, and then after the project's done, be able to follow the ROI on what it did in the community, brings the crowdfunding from 40 days to 9 days. So you can actually hit those things. And obviously, the more and more the reputation builds, the more and more respect that you get in the area. Now, it just so happens, I know a company that wants to do a lot of good in the community called the Kalos Project. And so we're going to be building community farms. We're setting out to do 30 community centers this year. That's half-acre market gardens. That's setting up chickens and ducks. And a lot of these things are going to be funded by the church or the organization themselves. So we're going to manage the project for them. They're going to crowdfund from their congregation or from their community. And then all the pilots, all the, what do they call it? Beta. All the beta testing, all the pilots that go through this platform are going to be generated by us and all the work that we do in the community. So we're going to be doing that all over this next year, which is why we're developing the platform to begin with, to help us project manage all these things with people who want to do good in the community.
If you're a person that receives like the service project, what happens there? Are we going to do like an interview with those people? Are they going to do some kind of like, do they have to then like put their time into the platform? Like, is it pay it forward?
So yeah, so the question is what's the responsibility of the person receiving the good works? So for example, Agape Farms, Brian and Brandy Christenberry, great candidates for this. Yeah, it's a talking point. It's a negotiation of sorts. You know, if you're building something on somebody else's property, you don't own it. I'm gifting my time. So a lot of these things have to do with what we call a constitution, and the constitution of the platform is something that we're in development of now too. So yeah, definitely hurdles and nature, human nature and stuff like that kind of play into that. But yeah. All right, guys. I think we're going to go ahead and call it. I would love to talk more. It's really kind of silly how big this thing gets so fast based on what's already happened in the market with other companies that don't do anywhere near what this does and for what reasons. And then back to regenerative marketing. Wait a minute, you're doing this and it's benefiting these to do this? Well, then I'm in. So I'm sure the video is going to love the way I said that, Brandon. So launching our pilot this year. In 5 years, really easy to see a $200 million valuation. Just so you know, the technology that we're talking about, investors or the valuation is based on a 12 to 20 multiplier on revenue. So if you're bringing in $7 million, then your valuation is a 12 to 20 multiplier of that. So that's how those valuations happen. All right. Steve, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
So I don't feel like you got around to talking about food today. So
Okay.
I know that you said that we sell grass. I'm just going to put in a really cheap plug here. I know that you said that we sell grass-fed beef, but
sorry about this.
yeah, I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
That's all right. Since we're kind of in the same market, I'm just going to have to say this. We're a little bit different than that. We're a little bit more niche. So we actually sell grass-fed, grass-finished beef. But we also sell non-GMO, corn-free, soy-free, flaxseed-free pork and chicken. And all of our animals are vaccine-free, hormone-free, and antibiotic-free. We don't spray our pastures, and we do sell both bulk meat as well as smaller one-time subscription boxes. So
Man.
that's all I got.
So it sounds like you've got that unimpeachable integrity with the way you operate.
We are working on getting organically certified. We are not there yet. It's a long process. And we are also working on adding land, but we are also not ready to do that.
So I got to say, everybody who's watching and everybody in this room, I don't really care about the sticker on the package. What I want to do is be able to shake your hand and come to your farm and see that what you're saying is true.
Which you have already been.
Yep, exactly. And so just so everybody knows, I've been invited, so I'm going to invite everybody else. Everybody else to go to the farm too. And this is how we stop relying. Yeah, we don't. I don't want to rely on some authority out there to tell me what's best for me. I'm going to go find out for myself because I've been lied to a couple times. So based on that, guys, let me make a couple plugs really quick. So we are kicking off the LLC, so the Kalos Project LLC's campaign this spring, actually probably in the next week. It's our campaign for 300. This campaign for 300 is going to be a very, very low price point for a fruit tree, a small herb garden, a 4x8 grow bed with plants, a water filter, because I know everybody around here's on city water, and automatic water and automatic watering system. All of this, and you're going to be able to start eating food within a week because we have a whole sprout kit for you. So we're going to be kicking off this campaign. It's called our Campaign for 300. This is going to enable us to go ahead and scale up all of our trucks, our trailers, and be able to start taking on the apprentices that have graduated the curriculum and are now looking for employment. So we're going to start putting them into that. Guys, to let you guys know, the Kalos Project, this food system is for anybody, and it's only $2,500. So you get to start growing your own food, you get your own fruit tree, your own herb garden, and you can start eating what you're growing within a week. The next campaign that we're doing is our community centers, our 300 community centers. This is marketed, or this is more aimed at market gardens. So this is going to be headed up and project managed by Daphne over at Daffodil Farms. So we're going to start getting temples, synagogues, mosques, and churches and other community centers to start growing their own food. So we're going to take them through the whole entire process. We're going to convert that Bermuda grass into good soil. We're going to start that market garden farm. John and Shay Salazar are here. They're going to, from Straight and Narrow Ministries, they're going to be heading up our From Ministry to Ministry campaign, where we're going to start doing these market garden farms. Mariah Casanova and Soil Keepers, Dean and Amy Yeager, they're going to be heading up our campaign for our homesteads. So what this is if anybody already owns 5 to 20 acres or more, we're going to start being the source for regenerative farming. So raising your own animals, raising your own livestock, and actually doing it in a regenerative manner. Now, for people who are looking for land, for people who already have their land, or for people who are flipping land, everybody wants to be able to grow food. So, I think there's one more that I'm forgetting, and we got Cultivate with Rob. Cultivate with Rob is rolling out his nutrition and maintenance. The nutrition and maintenance is using Korean natural farming and jadam. So we're basically making a full IMO kitchen storage warehouse where we're growing all of these microbes and we're growing all of the ferments so that we can go ahead and start using all of our natural processes and treatments for everybody. So whether you're growing grass right now or not, you'll be able to have no pesticides and no chemicals on everything that you have. Go around the room, make sure.
On your website, these campaigns?
Actually, it was supposed to be done a couple days ago, but it's not. So shout out to Ramen Deep. Right now it's about 3 o'clock in the morning where he's at. He's actually a good friend of Steve's. He's actually going to be the power behind how we curate the apprentice programs and the good deeds human resources part. They do basically surveys. So intellectuals deep dive surveys in that human intelligence, but he's also creating our website. You're redoing it anyway. So a shout out to Amber Lowe. Amber Lowe, our comedian. So Amber Lowe has been a big fan of the Kalos Project for a grand total of 3 weeks.
Something like that.
And in that 3 weeks, we've already found God's Point over in Greens Point. God's Point is a community center that is in Greens Point, a very underserved area in Houston. They want to be a community, or they want to be a larger community center for people, for youth that are in foster care and are aging out of the system as well. They're kicking off a chamber of commerce in the Greens Point area, which, as many of us know, needs it really, really bad. And they're hooking us up with the relationships to basically allow us to start growing food and grow out that area on Imperial Valley, where the city just destroyed and knocked down 16,000 doors. How many?
6,000.
6,000 door apartment complex that was dilapidated and condemned. They've torn it down. Their plans are to turn it into a green space. And it just so happens that some people that really love what the Kalos Project does was speaking on our behalf and said, hey, you know that there's a company out there that likes to grow food for people? Maybe we can do something else with that property. So I want to impart on all of y'all. You guys can talk about me and talk about Steve and talk about Luciana and Thomas. You guys can talk about us as much as you want to whoever you want to. You never have to worry about offending us. Even if you think that what I do is a little bit weird, it's okay. Whoever hears what we're trying to say and feels called to it's going to be coming our way. And we welcome those conversations. We want to be able to foster this. And guys, like I said before, the soil is ready. Are you? Yeah. Yay!